first episode of The Watchmen, and I have a special guest. It's Matt, and he's been on a couple podcasts. If you've listened to our Game of Thrones, he was in a couple of those, and we just finished watching the first episode of The Watchmen. Matt, what did you think?
It was a lot to unpack.
Were you uncomfortable?
I was uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think all of us were. Definitely an interesting first episode. I don't know. Did you watch The Leftovers? Did you say? Or parts of it?
I did. Yeah, I watched. Anel got me to watch that a while back.
I watched the first season. Made me very uncomfortable. Panic attack. Spiral. Yeah, pretty much. So, but I do really like The Leftovers. And I like a lot of what he does. So I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. I think that's what the consensus is with a lot of people. They're like, hey, this is a really interesting first take, not where we thought it was going to really go, but definitely feels like it's living in the times right now in the political environment that we live in.
I feel like if I'd read the comics, I might have been a little bit more prepared.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just have like the shorthand that I know. For those of you who didn't watch, if you watch the movie but you didn't read the comics, you're probably like, why are there so many squid references? There's like a poster in the school. There's obviously the squid raining everywhere. There's like a squid siren.
There's a squid like truck.
Yeah, squid cleanup truck. Basically what that is in reference to is Dr. Manhattan, instead of having like an explosion that goes off that frames him, it's a big giant like intergalactic like squid monster. So that's kind of what that's in reference to.
Fake
squid monster from the Interdimensional Alliance
that somehow still
keeps on going off.
Weather system.
I know. I almost wonder, like, is that something Dr. Manhattan's like doing?
When I was watching it, I was like, I've heard of like, weather patterns that like pull stuff, pull water up and like
yeah,
deposit it elsewhere. But yeah, I was lost.
Yeah, 100%. I really do think, though, this first episode definitely, we said feeling uncomfortable. You start on the, it was the race riots in Tulsa, 1921.
Yep.
So I didn't know very much of this. I guess that's just me, in my little bubble of, American history. But yeah, pretty crazy that happened. And I think that reenactment of it was pretty intense.
I remember hearing about this. Also, I think Anel told me about that a while back.
Oh yeah.
And I immediately like Googled it while we were watching it because I was like, is that the thing that she was telling me about? And yeah, that was pretty disturbing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And to know that it's like
actually real. Yeah. So I think another interesting thing is like basically finding out, this is a long time after the movie. So kind of finding out where we are, what is different in this, because we basically have this branch off and it's from the Vietnam War, essentially, right? The main thing is that they're superheroes, right? But one of the biggest things is, we win the Vietnam War, like Nixon stays president for a while. We have all the events of the movie that happen, but now we're in a completely different place. We're in the middle of the South, which is much different than where we were previously. And we kind of have what's kind of been brewing is this like white supremacy movement. So the Seventh Sons, the group.
Seventh Cavalry.
And they basically have taken Rorschach's manifesto and like embraced it for themselves. And I know what did you tell me earlier?
I was frustrated because I really appreciated Rorschach's take on things in the movie. Like he seemed more of like the speaking truth to power kind of thing, and so it bothered me that they had taken it to that white supremacist thing.
Yeah. Corrupted it.
Yeah, that spin on it, and but I guess from a little, you explained it, and then with a little bit more research, they kind of had a little bit. I guess David Lindelof, or however you say his name.
That's the best pronunciation I'm going to get.
Yeah. Said that they had kind of like altered or didn't fully understand where he was coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I took it, and maybe this is like a little ridiculous, but how some people take the Bible in like a completely weird direction. I kind of feel like it's a little bit of the same thing, you know. One thing though that I'm curious about, and I know a lot of people have been talking about if people really know that or not, is does everybody believe Rorschach's diary, or is this like a fringe thing?
Oh, I have no idea.
So really interesting that we are in this place now. Matt, there's a returning character. This is pretty much the only character that we've had that's like a de facto like returning character that we're like, oh, this is from the movie, even though we really haven't heard his name. And who is that?
I don't know.
Ozymandias.
Ozymandias.
There's people have been saying it completely different ways.
Well, but the thing is that I don't get that though. Like I kind of get it, but it's only been 30 years, right? He was
no, it's been longer than that, hasn't it? 80 to 2020. Yeah,
it was in
40 years.
Was it 1980 or was it in the 80s?
I don't know.
But still, I mean, he was like tall and
attractive. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jeremy Irons not like unattractive. It's just.
Yeah. I think maybe we're also looking at it from the movie perspective, and it's pretty clear that this is from the comics. And not reading the comics, I don't know, how old he's really supposed to be before. But yeah, very interesting. He's basically secluded, and it's hard to tell if that's his own choice, if that's society actually believing Rorschach's journal and being like, okay, well, yeah, there is this world peace, but still that's pretty fucked up. Or if it's something where it's like he's just like, oh, I'm done with society, like I've saved society, I'm above society, I'm gonna live in my castle with my weird ass fucking servants.
Yeah, I was definitely weirded out.
Was she sucking his dick? That's what I want to know, people.
It didn't seem like it.
At first it
kind of did.
First it totally, I thought she was just done and was like cleaning up, and then she's just like massaging his legs.
Yeah. I mean, it must not have been very good though. He's just like still typing away,
I know, writing his plays. Yeah, very interesting to see him.
But it all capped off when he handed him the horseshoe, and it's like,
definitely
some wires crossed in there, and that's why I'm thinking it's like a.
Yeah, and we get this cake, and we can only assume this is the anniversary of like the destruction of New York, either by a squid or if you're looking at the movies with this detonation. And so it's something where he seems a little like he almost has no emotion this entire time that we see him, but then he kind of feels a little like about it.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe he feels a little dirty.
What's weird is that I did not put two and two together. I didn't think that was who that was.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, well, I don't know who this dude is.
Well, they're just calling him master for like 30 times. Yeah.
Yes.
So we have one of our main characters is Sister Knight, and we're kind of following her around, and there's a lot of weirdness going on with her. And then we also have Chief Judge Judd Crawford. And it's a really, really weird... they have a weird relationship because in this future, essentially, I mean, just like we did have in Watchmen before, like superheroes are outlawed, but we almost have this weird kind of reversal where police, there's something that's referenced, and it's basically
Judd.
Chief Judd. That's
Judd.
right. There's something referenced, and was it called the White Night? The massacre of all the police people.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So essentially, like, there's this one night where, hey, like, it's still this gang of people that's now coming back. They're having a resurgence. It's been 3 years. They've been really quiet. But before that, they found out who all the police were, and they pretty much murdered a lot of them, it sounds like, if not almost all of them.
Leading to the protocol where they're all...
And now they're all masked, and it's a little crazy, and there's a lot of other things that are kind of interesting here. In this universe, from what I've gathered, it sounds like reparations have been had. Obviously, we have that kid, reiterations or whatever. Maybe they're called something different in this universe, but it sounds like, African-American people were given reparations for slavery. And a lot of people aren't taking that very kindly, especially here in the South. But there's also seemingly some other things that have happened. So, like, police officers have to get permission before they can withdraw their gun. Like,
yeah.
So is that, is it something where, like, are guns illegal?
Well, I mean,
you would think if the police aren't even able to draw their weapon.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of things that's kind
There's
of
a
like,
lot of there's a lot of social issues that are getting touched on in this show.
oh
Which
yeah,
it did make me uncomfortable, and it's like, man, I didn't really sit down to like watch a social commentary, but then at the same time, it's like, this is Watchmen. This is kind of like
oh totally,
what it's all about.
100%, yeah. And it's all about these people being really, they're thinking one thing, but they're not looking in at themselves and like where they're at all, right? Like, and when you compare that to like where it is now, it's just really like it's interesting because it is different. Like basically, if you take it at its basic level, you're taking a lot of like those minority relationships and you're flipping on their head. So like when we're in the Oklahoma, where they refer to it as like the Black Oklahoma, you have almost no white people in there.
Yeah.
And it turns out like, okay, it's probably, all Black production. So that makes a little bit more sense. But even though you're in the South, like there's a very low percentage of white people. And that is kind of unusual, for a lot of people. And in this time, in this universe, it seems really normal. There's a lot of people that are really well off, like, and it seemingly from these reparations, like that one kid says in class. And, what else has evolved from that, and how commonplace is this? Is this just because we're in the South, just like it is today?
It's super weird though, because like she's doing her little presentation and stuff, talking about Vietnam being one of the states,
Also
like,
crazy, yeah.
and the food that she was eating, and it's definitely not. I mean, there's some similarities that we're drawing to real life.
Yeah.
But there's little things like that where you're just like, this is definitely not, this is something completely different.
And we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but like, I don't know what is going on with her family. Like I'm guessing this is her husband, is this other Black guy, and all of her kids are like of mixed race. I think we might have narrowed it down. She said that she was shot during the White Night or whatever it was called. So maybe she can't have kids, and so she's adopting. But that's really interesting. And then it's seemingly like the secret, like no one can know, even if you are a member of the police, like only like your spouse can know, but your family can't know, and no one else can know. You have to make these excuses, you die in basically the line of fire, and you have to lie about, what happened to your dead husband if he does die. You're like, kind of weird, like very completely opposite of what we do now, because it's almost like we glorify that right now,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there's so much going on that I want to continue watching the show.
Yeah, 100%. But it's hard to know where to focus even. I think I get what you're saying. Like, there's just, everything is so different. You're like, well, why is this? And what are we trying to say about this? And it's almost like you just have to kind of sit back and like, let's see a couple episodes what's going on. Yeah, it's very interesting. And another kind of back part of this too is when the creator was talking about the show, I guess he's not opposed to making another season of this, but this is supposed to be a self-contained season, and I want to say it's like 6 or 8 episodes. It's not a lot of episodes. So
oh really
there's not a lot of...
Yeah, but remember he was saying that you can't, like, they didn't want him to review anything until after the 6th.
Yeah.
Till after 6.
Yeah. So a lot of the press was able to watch this, but they couldn't speak on it until they've actually like had reviewed a large portion of the series, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, that means that there's a big overarching story. And there have been mixed reactions to this first one. Like I really did like this first episode. Now, a lot of that is just like, I like these kind of shows. I think if it was just someone like walking in off the street, yeah, they might have a mixed reaction to it. But I think that this is something that these creators do really well. HBO does really well. And like this episode was done extremely well. I didn't feel like it was a cheesy television knockoff series of the movie. If anything, I think it was almost more immersive and more believable.
It's set in this universe, but it's like, it's so standalone, and there's like,
yeah,
there's not very many callbacks to the movie.
Yeah,
is what it feels like. But I was just looking online too, is like the cast, and it does have Jeremy Irons on here as Ozymandias.
Yeah, so they must have just updated that, because I think that was
I don't know. I still don't think that's the right way to pronounce it.
I mean,
whatever.
I don't pronounce anything right, so I'm just going to leave that for the audience to decide. So then we also have...
The dude's name is Red Scare.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
With
The Russian
with
dude.
the Russian accent.
Yeah,
I just
seriously.
thought that was kind of funny.
So let's talk about this because this was kind of interesting too. So we have the Red Scare and we have, our main protagonist, Sister Knight, and they're kind of on this mission. Chief Judd's up in the Owl, and they're kind of going and doing this bust on, this insurgent, right? Of these guys hold up. They look like they're making a bomb.
The white supremacists,
right?
Rorschach,
the
Seventh Cavalry.
Yep. But they
the lettuce
the lettuce throwers.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that actually. So we have this opening scene, right, where this police officer, and you're very much meant to feel like, I feel like this is like flipping a role reversal on like what a African American person in the deep South might feel when they're getting pulled over, but then it's a little weird, and then he does shoot him to death with a crazy gun. But is he really just hauling lettuce?
Just a Uzi, a Mac 10.
But is he really hauling lettuce? I mean, he is hauling lettuce.
He
but
was, yeah.
Was there something else in there?
Well, I mean, it could have been more of those synthetic lithium-ion batteries that are making everybody sick.
Everyone die. Yeah, so then I guess that's what it comes down to too. Is like, what's with the batteries? I don't really. Are we thinking like WMD of like?
Oh, we talk about this. I'm gonna take my watch off.
Carcinogens? Yeah, seriously. I know. I'm like, oh, they knew. Yeah, very, very weird. And also, there's a lot of stuff that's missing from this. So if you notice, like, they're all using pagers. We haven't seen a single cell phone. Like, that's not a thing.
I didn't catch that.
I don't see like iPhones. I don't see laptops anywhere. Like, there's screens, like, but I don't see computers. Like, it's almost like that industrial, like, technological revolution never happened. It's really weird. And then another thing that's really odd too.
Well,
is
all of these, that is unfortunately a big pusher of technological progress is war.
Oh, 100%.
And if they've kind of done away with war since...
Yeah. Well, and like also the space race.
The squid attack.
Right? Did that happen? Like, because that's where a lot of technological advance came too. So, I mean, it's really interesting. But another like odd thing is we have this owl vehicle, right? And it's not the same one. And we're kind of made to believe that like there's multiple of them because they're not like, oh my God, it's the only one and it crashed. But it's kind of like, really? They're like, the best design is an owl.
Yeah, it's basically a rock.
Yeah, like, and it only has a flamethrower. That you'd get this close. Like,
yeah,
like interesting, but okay.
And I mean, they're so worried about like the one dude. We want to get somebody to talk. We want to be able to interrogate somebody.
Cyanide pill.
Let's just flamethrow this.
Serious, this plane.
I mean, it's like these planes aren't made out of. Very lightweight. They're most of the weight on that plane's gasoline.
Well, and honestly, the other thing that kind of surprised me too is like, I mean, we live in Alaska, so we are very used to a lot of people having planes. So maybe that's just like Alaska privilege in us. But like, they're like, he's got a plane. I'm like, yeah, that's like a crop duster.
No, they didn't say he has a plane. He has a fucking plane.
Got a fucking plane. Like, it's like, yeah, that's like, it's like. Yeah,
yeah, but well, I mean, that plane's no joke though either. That's
I mean, it legit flies. I'm just saying, like,
legit flies.
Like, they do have a hovering owl, like,
yeah, Well, and I don't know, I'm the kind of person that like tries to look into all the different symbolism of everything too. So, she's drinking out of an owl mug, in his office. Not that really has anything to do with anything, but
yeah, totally. So we're on the fact of Chief Judd.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this. I mean, we have this guy, definitely a complex character. Honestly,
is he the guy that did like the Most Wanted?
I don't think so.
Not the same guy?
No, not the guy that has like daughter murder and then like starred in that was like America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. But I could be wrong. Maybe he is. I know he's famous. His name is Don Johnson. I know he's an actor and a lot of other stuff. Complex character, right? I don't know about you, but I was not thinking he was going to die in the end. I thought I was definitely going to see him in a couple more episodes.
Well, I didn't think that he was going to die until the spike strip.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like, shit's going down.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, so complex character, what I mean by that is, like, you know, he has this relationship with this lady that is Sister Knight, and she essentially, I get like there's a little something more than just like a professional relationship, but maybe they've just been together for a long time.
Yeah.
He's definitely doing things that are a little bit outside of the bounds of like what should be done. You can tell like they're pushing this vote to like use firearms, and it seems like it's a little bit too soon. And I don't think they're all very afraid of for their lives like it's supposed to be. But like, I mean, hey, I get it.
I just think he didn't want a repeat of what happened. I think that maybe
Totally.
I think that their history is that, you know, I think that he was, with all of his flaws, I think that he was kind of a good guy.
So this is what I'm getting at though. So then we have him, you know, he's going to these plays. He's like more like a political figure than he is even like what you would think of as a traditional chief of police like now, right?
Well, I mean, they are
much more elevated. Yeah. I mean, it does make sense. So then also though, he's like doing coke at like this family dinner, like just like kind of like ridiculous. His wife knows about that. And then he towards the end when he's going to go and he gets in his truck, right? And he gets the spikes. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go. I'll have someone drive me. I'm going to go to the hospital. But it's like, it almost seems like he's about to do something. When I first saw that, I thought he was going to go and kill that guy. I thought maybe he was playing both sides. We have that little scene, and it's like him as a young kid, his dad also as a sheriff, I would guess. I kind of
there was that picture, and I was like, who? I felt like maybe there was like some kind of tie-in.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then he's just dead. So I thought maybe it was going to be more like he was captured, something blah blah blah. But he's hung, right? Hung from the tree. He has no shoe on the left-hand side.
I wasn't looking at his.
Oh, I was. Just kidding. But yeah, he's missing a shoe. And then we have our wheelchair dude. And this wheelchair dude is a call back to the very first scene that we see in Tulsa. And he's the kid. He has a piece of paper that says, you know, watch over this boy who picked up the little, I think it's a little girl, but little baby. I'm not sure if it was a girl or a boy. And now he's 105 or 100. You memorized the numbers, I think, earlier. You were like...
Well, it's 2019 is when this takes place.
Yeah.
And... I did the math. He would have been 7 years old.
Okay.
Or roughly.
Yeah. And so how old is he now, though?
105. He said
105.
That, though.
Yeah. I was trying to remember. I can't.
Yeah,
I'm bad with numbers. So he's 105, and it's like, so he obviously did not lift up this guy.
Black don't crack.
I mean, yes.
She was like,
but
you're
also,
90. And he's like, I'm 105.
Yeah. But also in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So probably not going to be able to do that. Also, how did he get up on that hill?
Yes, but that was, remember I even commented like while we were watching, I was like, do you think I can lift 200 pounds?
Yeah.
Like he was planning this stuff out.
And that's my point, is like maybe Sheriff Judd was playing both sides.
I mean, if it's anything like The Leftovers, there's going to be a bunch of foreshadowing. There's going to be a bunch of stuff where it's like, after you watch episode 80,
you go back and you're like, oh my God.
They seeded everything.
Yeah.
It's all in here.
Totally.
So, I mean, I wasn't, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't like overly excited about the show. I like Watchmen.
Yeah.
I like HBO. I think
I just didn't really know where it was going.
I still don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
But
I have a better idea.
I'm more excited about the show now.
Yeah. 100%.
Than before watching it, which I think is a testament to, you know, the art of the show and what they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's obviously they asked a lot more questions than they answered, and that's part of where the cliffhanger kind of feeling comes from. But
yeah,
all in all, I just found myself like the level of uncomfortable feeling that I had in the beginning kind of died away, and it just all was curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember sitting there like, what is going on?
Yeah,
I want to see more.
Well, and like honestly, some of it's pretty badass. Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Not for you.
I'm a little bit of a gun nut, so certain scenes frustrated me.
Yeah.
But
I still thought like her character, like everything she did, I thought was really cool and like interesting. Like I felt like every time it was kind of dragging a little bit, we had a little bit of we're gonna go and fucking do this. Like, and she's unpredictable, which I really like. I thought that made it interesting. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see where we go. Speaking of kind of the ending, you know, right after the ending, we always have the HBO like, oh, what's happening in the next one? Like it's kind of like a Game of Thrones trope now. But it looks like they kind of just skipped the next episode and they just did what's coming in the rest of the season.
yeah, I feel like that's kind of a good idea, though.
Totally. And like we had said, they're wanting press to not say anything until they watch all these. So it makes sense they kind of tease a little bit of it. But definitely more than what we've had from the trailers. It looks like we are going to have Dr. Manhattan actually coming and being on an episode, at least for a little bit. Girl. We're going to have that. Ozymandias is obviously up to his next thing, and from what I got for that little short second, it was just like, maybe he's not, he's like, oh, I saved the world, from utter destruction, but maybe he wants to save everyone from themselves too, a little bit. Maybe give everyone something to focus on to where their meaningless lives have meaning. We have definitely, this whole cult of Rorschach is going to be a huge playing point, and maybe even there's an Asian character, and I don't know who she was. I don't think we saw her at all during this episode.
It's a lot of Save Mankind stuff.
It seems like there's like multiple people trying to like set up huge catastrophe things to maybe redirect the way that humanity is going.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting, and I'm wondering if, the other thing they really prefaced a lot is, Dr. Manhattan is just on Mars, like building things and tearing them down, It's like, if you were a super being, right, and you're completely disconnected from humanity, but like, what really? Like, I mean, this has been a long time. This has been since the 80s, right? He's been on Mars.
I mean, I get where you're saying he's disconnected from humanity, but I think that it's not that he's disconnected from humanity. I think he's disconnected from emotion.
Yeah, but he also is disconnected from the human experience, right? Like he
kind of, yeah. But like, I mean, he still remembers it.
And this is from the movie, so like maybe this isn't exactly like this in the comics, but I just remember him just being like, oh, like I'm with you and I can see everything that's going to happen, and then how you're going to fall out of love with me and you're going to die and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, it's almost meaningless to him, right? Yeah. So that's kind of why he initially goes to Mars.
But it's not, though, too, because like he made the decision to be, at least in the movie, right?
Yeah.
He becomes the culprit.
Yeah.
Like, he becomes the scapegoat for, so he takes the hit so that humanity will not be.
So he does have some semblance of connection to it.
Right. I think that he still recognizes good. I think that he still recognizes. I mean, it's the ends justify the means in his opinion. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's some other commentaries that are going on under the radar, and I think one of them is this whole vigilante avenue that the law enforcement's going down, which I think is a scary road.
Oh yeah, totally.
You've got somebody that's being like beaten, bloody, interrogated. Yeah, actually, that wasn't the cop killer guy, but
yeah.
Like there's definitely bad things going on both sides.
100%. So. Yeah. It's almost, and it's an uncomfortable feeling to feel this way, right? Because you're not identifying with these white supremacists, but you're kind of like, yeah, but like honestly, if you had a bunch of police doing this, I can understand that, which is then commentary on like our situation nowadays. Like, yeah, I can understand like being fearful of police,
like the Gestapo or
totally
something like that.
Speaking of that, what did you think about this cool pod room? And
I don't have any idea.
Like, I thought it was crazy.
I would have cracked 5 seconds.
Well, and then Looking
Glass. I don't even know
what
what you're asking me, but sure.
Yeah, right. Looking Glass too. Like, that's the mask I want.
Right.
I don't know if you can see out of that, but like, I want it. Like,
I feel like you could.
And he's like polishing it with like a Costco microfiber right before he goes in.
One-way mirror or like a two-way mirror. What else? Two-way mirror?
Two-way mirror. Yeah.
Yeah. He's polishing it. Yeah, it is definitely a creepy, but then just like the cinematography, like
so good.
The aspect of that was, and then, like I'm watching it, and I'm like, where's the camera? They took the camera out.
But it looks, it's so beautiful. Like cinematography is so beautiful, but yet the camera's not there. But it also looks so realistic. But yet it's so fantastical. Like you have all these
some clockwork orange like kind of thing going on.
It's crazy. I mean, you saw like there's the parts of like it's flashing when it's on the face, and you can actually see kind of it is making these different Rorschach patterns on the face, and like you have like the Nazi flag, then the American flag, and there's just so many things, and you can see the guy's pupils dilating, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, you're literally changing from like light to dark to light.
Probably gonna do that to your eyes. Yeah, totally.
The looking glass. I don't know what he does. He's like a human lie detector.
Maybe. I mean, maybe that's just what he has been trained to do.
Also, why is the pod in like some warehouse? Is this
because it's easy to beat people up? And were they waterboarding him at the end? Is that what she did, or did he just piss himself?
Blood?
There was a lot of piss.
Was it piss or blood?
There was piss with some blood in it, or water with some blood in it.
Who knows? It was definitely blood.
And how did she? What'd she say? It was like a farm or something like that. She's like
the cattle farm.
Cattle ranch.
No,
yeah,
cattle ranch. Something.
She's like, yeah, it's the cattle ranch. It's like he did not say anything.
He spilled it. No, he said something.
Did he? Oh, I didn't get it.
Yeah, but I don't think that you were meant to understand what he
actually said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely intense. Like you said, do the ends justify the means? We have that commentary from, what happened before. We have that kind of going on now with the police. It's like, obviously you watch the intro with Tulsa. That's wrong. We all know that, right? That's horrible. Yeah, it would be a horrible,
I'm kind of, I think it's cool. That's probably not the right thing to say, but I'm glad, I suppose, that there's more light being shed on that kind of thing because...
Yeah, I had no idea, and I feel like such an ignorant douche,
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things where, like, we see this, right? And it almost just makes you so angry. It makes you want to, like, go and get fucking justice, right? And then we have these white vigilantes, and you're like, oh, I can put my anger onto these people as the audience, right? So, yeah, get them. But then you almost have this pendulum switch where it's like, this police brutality that's just fucking kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. And it almost makes you feel like, ugh, like all of this extremism is just so gross,
Yeah, but I think it's
the only way to get stuff done.
Well, and I think that's just the natural tendency is it like you said, it's a pendulum swing. It goes one direction until it can't go that direction anymore, and then it starts moving back.
And when you don't have war going around the world, like you have civil unrest and civil war, like, right? I mean, that's just the way it works. I am interested, though, to see, once again, I feel like we're very much zoomed in on this area. Are we in Tulsa?
I think so.
So, is this a countrywide thing? Is this much bigger? Is this, almost like the yesteryear of like the civil rights movement? Is this kind of akin to that, or is this like more of a very isolated story?
Oh yeah, because like, yeah, I wonder how the alternate reality affected the civil rights movement, because the civil rights movement was happening during. Well, yeah, right? But I'm just saying, like, they are altering history from the 60s, moving forward, with Vietnam and everything like that, which I didn't even catch when they were at the dinner table and the little girls were reciting like the presidencies,
and they
went from 2. Nixon to then like one more, which is the current president.
Yep.
I didn't put 2 and 2 together in that moment, but
yeah. I think someone had told me this before when they were reviewing it, or when someone was reviewing it, someone read it and had talked about how like interesting this was going to be, and boy, I was definitely okay. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff that's changed. Squid monsters, only a couple presidents, no cell phones. A little bit different reparations. Like,
yeah, I did the buzzing and the weapons thing. was, I don't know why, but it gave me like a Judge Dredd kind of like vibe.
Yeah.
Oddly.
I can see that. Totally. But then...
I don't want to... And what's Panda's deal? Like, he just...
I don't know, but that costume was gross too.
Needs to wash it.
Yeah,
it's like a furry.
I don't know. Is that like every police department has to have one man ready to call justice, and his name is Panda. Like,
I don't know. And then
it's weird too. Like you had that separation of
Red Scare eating donuts without taking his thing off.
Seriously, gross. I bet that all smells so nasty. Like, if you ever wore a Halloween costume like more than once, like, with a mask, and you're like, oh, this smells gross. Yeah, not good. But you have the separation too. Like we're in this area where, it's like almost like your underground fight club. And then you go in and it's like the, this cult of Rorschach. Basically they have this video and they're like, oh, you're going to get what you deserve, blah, 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 blah. And then she walks in and it's like half of it is like regular uniformed police officers with the yellow kind of face mask. And the other, they all look like superheroes kind of. And it's like, is there what do you think the difference is between them as far as like, are they getting paid different? Is it a seniority thing? Is it something where they actually have different abilities that is lending them to this? Is this something, what are you thinking?
Well, I don't know. That's weird because in the movie, you do have kind of like, it's not necessarily like, they don't have powers, right? But
that's what I mean, like a natural ability.
They have like specializations kind of. And so I don't know, like, because this is a long time, is there like an academy that these people are going to,
Well, and it's like, it's such a, I mean.
They have quirks.
God, yeah, seriously. That's the next podcast. This is what I don't exactly get is just, I don't know. It's very, very interesting. Like nowadays it's such a glorified thing to be a police officer, right? If you were with anyone and bringing them home and you found out that their extended family, it was a long line of either, people that were firemen or police chiefs, like that's a distinguished thing that they're known as heroes. And like in this universe, that's like shoved on the rug. Like you don't talk about that. You don't know about that. It sounds like even after they die, they're not talking about it unless you make it up to like this this chief of police, where you can go out and do plays and you have your badge on and everything and everybody knows that. So it's just kind of weird. Like, what is the impetus for this? Is it kind of like the military where there's kind of like a draft for some of them where it's like, hey, we need this many police officers. We can find you and do it. Some of them seem like they're just grunts. Like,
yeah,
like, I don't even want to do this.
The paycheck must be pretty good.
Well, enough to have a secret business where you have a crazy cipher lock and go in and get all your stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I do not know. Well, that's all I had for it. Did you have anything else that popped up in your brain in the last little bit?
Not really.
Okay. Well,
there's a lot, but not
constantly spinning.
Yeah, nothing that's gonna be answered or lead us to
100%. Same thing. Yeah, I thought overall really good episode. Definitely I think there could have been a little bit more maybe to like, I think a lot of people were saying like, where's the actual like hook in? Mm-hmm. We start Watchmen and we have that murder that really gets you hooked in and you're like, okay, well, what happens with this? I'm definitely curious. Like, I'm like, oh, I have all these little threads that I'm like, I want to know, but I don't have one thing that's like, hey, this is what's driving me to watch the next one. It's a whole bunch of little things. It's more the overall mystery.
I want to know who the kid is. I want to know who the other kid is, the baby in the flag.
I know. Isn't that surprising? That's like kind of like the thing that I'm like most curious about is like, how is that all connected?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, I'm glad that there's now more of an awareness of a really disturbing event that happened in our history.
Yeah.
But let's tie that to
what the hell's going on?
This 105-year-old dude in a wheelchair.
Yeah, who's hanging people
because he can lift 200 pounds while he's in a weird wheelchair. Seriously? Also, I got totally side comment, but like how? Not only that, but like the number of times that rope was wrapped around the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
He wasn't using pulleys. Is all I'm getting at.
No. Like I said before, how the fuck he even get out there? He Uber over there? Because there ain't no smartphone. Like, oh, sir, where you want to go? You know this big old hanging tree? Yeah, push me right up there.
If he can lift 200 pounds though, then he's easily wheeling himself up there.
There has to be. I feel like there has to be something where, I do think Chief Judd was maybe a little dirty, and maybe there is a even subvert culture of a bunch of African Americans, or maybe some people that are just like not for that cult, that are like, you know what, fuck you, we're going down, we're doing what the police can't and the justice system can't, and maybe he's the head of that.
Yeah.
Maybe he founded that because he witnessed all of this stuff.
And maybe he looks at her and he's like, you still have...
You're playing their games or something.
Or you still have some good in you.
Yeah, I can see that. So I know I'm excited for the next episode. Definitely a lot more than I was when I started. I think you're the same way. So it should be really interesting. I hope you guys really liked it too. Next week, we are going to have another podcast. We are going to try to have the podcast out as soon as possible after that. Usually we'll try to film it, go ahead and edit it, and then upload it as soon as possible, depending on if work lets me do that. If there's anything else going on. If I'm just like, what is going on in this episode, I need to think about it for a couple seconds, maybe rewatch it. So we will definitely get those out as soon as possible. Make sure you are subscribed. That's the best way to get in touch and see that we have posted something new. Obviously, you kind of know it's going to be coming out, but you'll know exactly when it comes out, and it will be right on your phone. If you want to go onto Spotify, if you want to do iTunes or Apple Podcasts, or if you want to watch on Google Play, and we are even going to be trying YouTube, you should be able to get the podcast. And make sure to subscribe to our other podcasts like HBO Game of Thrones, and we might have something coming up with Disney Plus, maybe with yours truly and Matty B for The Mandalorian. So I'm very excited about that. So just make sure you are subscribed and staying tuned, and we will see you guys next week.